today's episode of Resume Revelators, a Hired Calling podcast. I've got Mario Fields here with me, a retired sergeant major, and Mario does a lot of amazing things. I asked him several questions today about all these endeavors. And so first off, Mario, my apologies to you sincerely. I know you don't want to hear it again, but about kicking this can down the road in terms of getting you on this podcast the past couple of months. My schedule went from crazy to crazier. I had to... So starting in June, I signed a contract to rent a new house and had to get my current house that I own moved out of and rented to somebody else. I had to prep that. It's still in work. And right when I thought I was going to be done, I was basically shooting some screws into some drywall that I was repairing, putting drywall over a repair that happened like 6 months before because behind the washer, nobody cared about it. Shooting in a screw, and I shoot that screw right into the pipe that I just got fixed. I was like, mind blown. So that's been going on. I had to bring my daughter to Vegas for her dance competition, my youngest daughter, and was there for a week. Blew a tire on the way there. Had to replace. I replaced 4 while I was in Vegas, and then when we were ready to leave, and it was so hot that the air conditioner and generator were like, "Nah, we're done. We're not gonna do this." Despite the generator being brand new, so basically I had to buy a new one and put on a hitch haul in the back and run the cord around the side of the generator like a true redneck, but it worked out just fine. It was like 115 degrees that day. There was no way I was going to be leaving Las Vegas without full electricity. I didn't care what it looked like. That's how it's been going over here. So that's what's added to the delay. I'm still moving in here. I just hung those things up behind me a few minutes before we started this podcast. It's not going to be my final background, but it was something better than the bare wall. We got all of our stuff into this place, but nothing really up yet. After we got back from Vegas, I had a week with my brother in town and a week with my wife's brother in town. So, as I said a minute ago, this is like the first real professional thing I've done in the past 6 weeks. It feels like that's related to actual business and and what's happening in the world here.
Wow, Derek, I think those external factors were testing your soft skills, man, and comfortable in crisis, being resilient, and all of the above. So I'm just glad that we were able to get this can, kind of crack it open, have a couple of sips of conversations on your show.
How's your summer been, Mario?
It's been great. It's going fast. I mean, I have a passion landscaping, and so I tell you, man. Of course, I got the best grass in North Carolina, but no, it's been great. And as I told you before the show, our first granddaughter, her name is Layla. She will be arriving soon, so we are stoked here in the Fields family, man.
Congratulations again on that. Good name choice. My daughter's name is Layla too.
Oh wow.
I can't imagine, what it's going to be whenever my kids have grandkids. Right now, you mentioned earlier the teenage years. One is full on 15, and then one is, turning 11, but she thinks she's turning 30. Likes to be pretty bossy to her big sister, but they get along pretty well. But then again, they fight like cats and dogs. You kids are pretty close in age. Any kind of old school recommendations for this time period?
Yeah. You know what I learned is they are their own human beings. Every single one of them. And so one thing I told my daughter and my son when they were teenagers, I said, one day I want to be your friend. Right now I'm your dad. I said, you're going to make mistakes, but if you don't learn from them and you continue to create turbulence in the house, I will always be your dad and never your friend. So let's work together so I can be your dad and your friend. I said, and when you guys become adults, you will love me being your friend and not just your dad.
And it sounds like it's worked out pretty well for you. You get 28, 29, so you've succeeded. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your definition of success is. I would just say, but for my definition of success is, I still have hair in my eyebrows. I lost my hair on my head, but I still have some eyebrows. So,
parenting is hard. There's no manual to it. There's plenty of books out there, but no real manual. But
no,
I don't know. I mean, I think everybody's version of success is probably different, but being in your kids' lives, being in your grandkids' lives is, being able to talk about them on a podcast means that you're in their lives. So that is definitely a peak of success too.
Yeah.
So let's dive into a little bit of the time period between your retirement as a sergeant major to where you are now, and you're doing all kinds of great things. I know you're on the Unarmored Talk podcast, Parade Deck. I'm not sure how all these things fit together, but
Hmm.
what's your ecosystem? What's your world you're building there?
Yeah, so I'm a professional content creator, so that's kind of the synergy. Derek is Parade Deck. I helped the founder create that platform about 3 years ago, and the problem I had, the challenge I had was having a landing page that had all of my social media links and company business links, and so I helped them create that, which resolved my problem, and then help that founder of Parade Deck, Andrew, make his vision become a reality. So overall, I'm a professional content creator, and then in the philanthropy as a philanthropist, I founded Still Serving Incorporated, which is a nonprofit 501c3, IRS code, and we're about to hit 6 years and running. And so that I do have lots of experience in that space. And then in the for-profit side, along with the professional content creation comes the speaking industry, and that's broadcasting, keynote speaking, podcasting. I mean, you name it. And so that's kind of my background, but it's all related through science, in my best career focus area, my friend.
Last time we talked, you had a lot of science-backed career
Hmm.
tools you were talking about. So what got you into knowing all about these career focusing tools? What's the science behind it that you're referring to? Did this all come from your role as an employment facilitator with the DoL and the TAPS program, or what?
Yeah. The interesting thing is I was actually drawing unemployment. I retired in Southern California when the pandemic hit. They kind of merged some positions, and they offered, they said, "Hey, would you like to apply to be the CEO?" And I was like, "Oh no." And I'll tell you why through science. I didn't know then. I know now. So what created this opportunity is I had to apply for 3 jobs a week to continue my unemployment. And in this position, appeared on Indeed.com. I applied for it, and I've been doing it for 3 years. Part of the onboarding training is we had to go through. When I say we, I had to go through all of the curriculum, the assessments, and that's what started. Is I had to be trained in a career scope assessment that measures your interests and your aptitudes, your work values, and then your Dr. Holland Raya set codes. And then here's the critical component there to tie them to industries. And that's where I see a lot of disconnect in all industries. There's a lot of folks go, "Oh, I'm familiar with some of these assessments and tests, but do you know how to fundamentally connect your best science, your results to industries?" That's what started it about 3 or 4 years ago. And now, so everything you see that I do on my LinkedIn profile, they're all where I am a 99 to 100% best fit. And Derek, I'll tell you, it's not work. It's fun. And I'm getting paid. So it's almost like you're in your passion on payroll.
And that's very important. I think that having meaningful employment post separation is the biggest contributor to veterans staying alive and well. There's direct link between unemployment and suicide. It's not based on being on it for the duration. It increases with duration, the number of times you go on it, and even I think the veterans incidences of homelessness actually spikes
Hmm.
at 10 years, not the first 2 or even the first 5. It's after 10 years when veterans end up going homeless. So being able to identify and quantify what is meaningful employment for each individual is very important. Can you tell me more about how you've seen this work in your space?
Oh yeah. So for instance, and just a quick research fact, not just to veterans, but all the U.S. population, about a third, 30% of the U.S. workforce, they switch jobs every 12 months. Every 12 months, my friend, and just over 50% say that they're satisfied. Not that it's meaningful. They're just going, yeah, the money, like the work life balance, like I'm good. But you don't hear too many people go, "Oh my God, this is so much fun." Going to going to work is fun. You rarely hear that, and of course, you don't even have to hear it. You can see it in their body language. So I bring that up because for me, my personality code as it's tied to industry is social. Social are helpers. So my highest is social, which is a helper. I like to do activities to help people. My lowest is investigative, which is normally found with CEOs. So I always wondered why every time I got promoted, I hated it. I never understood why the more rank I picked up in the military, the more I didn't like it. Well, when I did research there, the higher you go, the higher rank you go in the military and in industry becomes for the most part, it becomes, depending on what industry, we'll just talk Marine Corps, very realistic, investigative, conventional industry. My three lowest are those. I didn't realize I was promoting myself into an industry that was opposite of my personality codes. So now in broadcasting and podcasting and the nonprofit, they're all social. Those industries are helpers. The other component is in a career scope assessment. It shows you your highest. Are you humanitarian? Are you accommodating? Are you protective like law enforcement? My top two highest are humanitarian and accommodating. Top two. Yeah. And these industries are about helping people, developing people. Um, where I've had some folks in my workshops who they were high in humanitarian and they were zeros in accommodating and they wanted to go into healthcare. I'm like, you may find yourself with bad bedside manners because you're not accommodating. So everything I do from the time I wake up when it comes to my nonprofit and the podcast and social media, those industries are high in social, enterprising, artistic, my three codes. And you can go on onetonline.org and check them out. And then my work values, as I conclude with this part there's three parts to it, is your work values. And my work values are achievement, relationships, and independence. And then these industries, they really focused on allowing, people to use their best abilities to accomplish a goal. Relationships are critical to me. I do not want to go to work in industries where people look like they're pissed. They're fun sponges. Not for me. And I love being independent. So that's how I'm applying those three assessments, putting all the pieces together and being intentional in the industries that I'm in, that you're seeing me in, and that I um, facilitate to thousands of service members.
So if I missed it, forgive me. So what was it that turned you on to diving into this space? Was it finding and applying for this role, or were you already educated about this because of your experience transitioning out of the military?
No, it was when I had to go through the onboarding training for this part time, U.S. Department of Labor facilitator position. That's when I discovered, wow. And you know what it did, Derek? It made me realize other things in my whole life. At the time I was 44. I mean, I'm almost 50 now. But yeah, I was like, no wonder why I didn't want to be the CEO of that company in Southern California. No wonder why my own company, I don't mind being the founder. I don't want to be the CEO. And I never understood, why do I hate those positions? Like, I don't like them. Well, it was during the training that I was like, man, they're high and investigative. And that's my lowest.
So in your role, doing the TAP program, and you're talking about this science and this quantitative search, and what kind of feedback do you receive from the transitioning service members? At the beginning of it and at the end of it, how is their pickup and acceptance? I just remember, my time sitting in TAPS class. I had a plan and I knew what I was going to go do. Granted, the plan failed, and I came back to California, call that a failure, or whatever else. But I'm sure the plan I had changed. But I know I paid attention in TAPS class, but nobody was talking to me about quantifying anything about learning what you wanted to do. My TAPS counselor was taught us a lot about the VA healthcare system and the VA benefit system and some of the state programs. But there wasn't, and there hasn't been until I think recently, really a focus on finding out what you are supposed to go
Hmm.
do, what you want to go do, removing, I say, peeling the onion apart and removing the prescriptions that apply to you. Your mom said you should be this, your dad said you should be that,
Right.
Marine Corps made you at this. You think you want to be this other thing, but you haven't done any soul searching and career searching and understanding of what jobs actually do and what it takes to be successful in those roles and what kind of attitude you have to have. What are your motivations? So active duty, we don't quite normally buy into the feelings and emotions of this kind of thing. I don't think, but so that, and I've been removed for many years. But what are you experiencing?
Yeah, so number one for your listeners, and I don't know if this is on YouTube, but your viewers, but number one, they can go on my LinkedIn profile and read the recommendations, like literally read what they've been saying. So that's one. I've been lucky to have the service members actually leave their feedback. And then number two, they so we start when I say we, U.S. Department of Labor facilitators. TRS is 5 days. We actually come in on day 3, 4, and 5, and each workshop is about 33, 34 service members. Spouses can attend too. So when they first come in, it's like, okay, I've done assessments. They always say tests. Like, I've done tests. You have, and especially the older folks, okay, we've done this before. I've been to college and so on and so forth. Like, okay, I mean, that's your belief. It's yours. Who am I to tell you it's not a good belief? I said, just keep an open mind. And Thursday for us here in the Jacksonville, North Carolina area, Thursday is the day we do all the self assessments. And then by 3 o'clock that afternoon, we call it putting the pieces together. And I would tell you, Derek, I would tell you, by Thursday, 3:30, when I'm getting ready to wrap up the workshop, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, and I mean that metaphorically, but they're walking out going, I would have never thought of this industry. I didn't know that job zones meant how much prep to get into this industry. You know, I didn't know that I am high in humanitarian and zero in accommodating. No wonder why, as a corpsman, because I have sailors and I have airmen, and we do all the branches of service. I wonder why I love helping people in the hospital, but when they start to complain, it really bothered me. And now they can go into industries and pursue industries and not waste time and money. Like, I had one last week said I was going to get a degree in engineering. But now, after going through the self assessments, I am not pursuing a degree in engineering. I'm going into aviation, mechanics. Yeah, man. So it's just been wonderful the last 3 years.
Thank you for that. I'm very interested in learning more from you about the assessments that you use, why you use them and why they work, and I'll share with you a link to one based on the IOM from Fingerprint for Success, now called Marley, out of Australia. Um,
Hmm.
my mentor also mentored the CEO of that company, and it's an incredible program. I was coached by Dr. Harshman based on the IOM, which is individual work attitudes and motivations,
Hmm.
the IWAM criteria myself, and then I wanted to go apply the same AI that's on my resume website to this type of assessment and coaching. And I got about 2 steps down that path, and he told me, no, go look at this company. They're already doing it, and it's fantastic. And I don't normally, I put some stock in some assessments, but I am very critical of all assessments, especially like the Myers-Briggs type of assessments and the DISC. The only one that ever really nailed it for me was the Strength Development Inventory, SDI,
Hmm.
and then this one right here, the Fingerprint for Success. So I'll share that link with you next time we talk. I
No,
want to go.
Derek, I'm used to this. So again, I am the difference between this and all the other ones is, one, this is U.S. Department of Labor. Number two, it's accurate. It's extremely accurate, and it ties to industries. The things I haven't seen with the other ones I've done is they haven't. There's not a resource that I can take that data and tie it to industry. But I can go on onetonline.org right now. I can do yours in seconds and go, yeah, I would never put you in this industry. You're low as heck, and your personality, you would clash with this industry. Oh yeah, and you see people all the time. They have no idea. They have no nonverbals. They have no personality, and they go into an industry as high in social, or reverse. I'm high in social. You put me in an investigative industry, dude. I am probably going to get written up by the end of the week. I'm going to work in these industries, going, what's wrong with Jim? Is he okay? Is Jenny all right? No, they're just very investigative and realistic people. And I'm in an industry that's conflicting with my personality code. And then my aptitude is high and clear. Oh yeah. Yeah, so that's why I've declined job offers, Derek. I have declined job offers. I had someone offer me a job, and they were great money, fringe benefits were amazing. So give me a couple of days. I took all my codes, went on to onetonline.org, which is U.S. Department of Labor. So U.S. Department of Labor um, platform. And I looked at everything. I was a 66% good fit for that position. And it was accurate. I was like, yeah, no way. Nope. And I called the guy back and I said, hey, thank you so much for the offer. But let me tell you what would potentially happen. I would under deliver and over promise, and I would probably start looking for another job in 10 months. Good money, but it's not meaningful.
So you're getting buy-in from your students about how to use these categories and go find some quantification about how they're going to fit in other industries.
Not even buying. It's so accurate, Derek, that I don't even have to sell it. It's almost like a scientist going, this is a half an inch. Any questions? If you start to debate that, that's a little weird. So the way this is for them, the way the workshop is set up is literally when we're done, they're like, no wonder, you know what? I was doing this as a kid. One guy one guy last week, he was like, no, I used to always go outside on the farm and build things and never knew that I had all these skills for construction. And he goes, and I've always wanted to go into custom building. We put his results and knowing that he was 99.9% best fit for construction industry and custom builds. Yeah.
I think it's great to get people where they are going to be happy to find meaningful employment. And so I guess changing gears on you a little bit, something that came up last month that we as Marines probably going to have some strong and varied opinions on when it comes into the history of it all. But SkillBridge has been a pretty impactful program across the services. I mean, from my research and the study that I did, everybody spoke very highly of it in terms of what they got from it. I do know people who have done it but didn't quite get what they thought they were going to get, but nevertheless, pretty incredible program. But the Marine Corps just cut down eligibility from up to 6 months down to 3 to 4 months. Have you been hearing rumblings from your students, your folks transitioning out? What's going on your side?
Yeah, from what I've heard from my workshop is they understand there's a huge retention problem, and not just a retention challenge. Let me get rid of the word problem. Something I've never seen in my 50 years of living is roughly not only is there there's a recruiting challenge. What I mean by that is young folks today, it's harder for them to qualify. It has nothing to do with the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, but they're just not qualifying. I think I did some research about a month ago. I think it's like only a quarter of folks who are eligible to apply to volunteer to join any branch of service. They can't even qualify. So that's a major challenge. Number one. Number two is the retention. I mean, remember when the military, you and I were in, they had the old legacy retirement program, the high three. 2017 that went away. So now you don't have that where if you do 20 years, you get a pension. So it's very complex. Um, so the hundred, all of the folks that I've experienced in the last 3 years, like they understand that there's a retention problem, and the organizations have to do something because it's a national security issue. One of the other changes, I don't know if you saw this, but active reserve, as of like a couple of days ago, it is getting so challenging that now the Marine Corps is going to tap into active reserve for special duty assignments. I've never seen that in my short life of living, and I'm a prior drill instructor. But now, if you're on active reserve (AR), now you either can volunteer for a special duty assignment, or you're going to be, as the article said, voluntoed. So very, very complex, dynamic situations currently. And as well as I know, the enemy gets a vote.
Well, I mean, I find some strategical complications in taking folks out of active reserve and
Mm-hmm.
putting them into being a recruiter or a drill instructor
Yeah,
as their primary, because those are two things that the person doing it should want to do it
I
to some
know.
level. Um, you don't want to have somebody disgruntled being your recruiter. You know, maybe you want a disgruntled drill instructor. I don't really know. It depends on how you want to look at it, but I'm sure it's not healthy for long term. But so,
No.
um, but these are all short-term fixes. I think limiting or restricting SkillBridge is a short-term fix. I
Yeah.
need to be able to show incoming graduating high school folks better stories about veterans. That's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to show that we can go get good jobs.
Yeah.
There is life after service. You can, find meaningful employment once you get out or retire, and there are still a lot of benefits to serving, um, despite the current political climate and everything around that. Um, for people who can't afford
Yeah.
college, people who, for whatever reason, don't want to go to college, there's lots of job training available. But the other side of me, who has done the deep down research, I understand that those things don't quite add up to the appropriate salary when you get out. I can get into math right now, but I don't really want to. But what are we going to do long term to really show better opportunities, and how how do we help from our seats um,
Yeah.
improve the recruiting situation as it is right now for the long term?
Well, I know for me, if you go on my social media, I've had more folks on my YouTube channel, TikTok. I mean, I'm on social media and I embrace it. When I was on Derek, there was a lot of senior officers and folks who were very rigid and did not embrace it. They didn't believe you should be on social media. If you were on social media, you were an officer. Officers, as a sergeant major, they got wore out. And I used to tell the generals and everyone else, I'm like, you guys have a very rigid way of thinking. This is technology, and it's a very solid marketing and recruiting tool. It reaches millions of people, and so you want to show folks that, like you just said, Derek, we're not robots. We're very smart. Doesn't matter if you're an officer enlisted, you're a human with skills, and you can transfer those skills out to the private sector. And the beauty about when they get out is just because you're an officer or a sergeant major, it doesn't matter. The rest of the world doesn't care. What are your skills? What are your abilities? And can you solve my company's problems? And so that was a big one I saw in 2017, 2018, and we're seeing that. And so what are we doing? I can only tell you what I've been doing, that to create a positive environment, to create a positive impact for those who are going to boot camp. Just had someone send me a message on TikTok, say, I'm going to boot camp next week. Hopefully I can meet you. And I sent him a message. I said, hey, if you're ever in North Carolina, hit me up and I'll come see you on one of the installations. Very powerful marketing tool. But here's the deal. When I start searching veterans' YouTube channels, their social media, they're not on them. And if they are on them, it's for either political or, it's nothing positive for the most part. A lot of them do. But, show them you love what you did. You made the choice. It was all volunteer. You weren't drafted like my uncle, if you will. I mean, he did 30 years, but it wasn't like it's not like that. And so that's my take on it is I can tell you what I've been doing for 6, 7 years. And what I continue to do since I've been out is throw some comedy on the TikTok that, folks love it, and give a positive, you know, honest perspective on if you join. And when you get out, there's lots of life and have some personality. I mean, I know when I was a Lance Corporal, when I came in, I was like, I don't want to be like that when I'm in my 30s. Just look like I'm just miserable. I'm not doing that. I'm like, who would want to join any company and then leave and you have no personality? You just look like you're just pissed off. You got to break. That's a belief system. That's a very rigid way. And then you go, hey, there's life after the court, and people are going, well, you look like you're miserable. 93% of communication is nonverbal. And so I tell folks, you don't have to say much. People are going to look at you in your nonverbal communication. And that's another way you can make a positive difference for those who are currently serving and those who are getting out, is use your own platforms to be very positive and honest. And if you have a belief about something, like you said, Derek, hey, this is just my belief.
In your curriculum or in your program with the DoL, and you get candidates or transitioning service members who are going to take an entrepreneurial path and are not actually looking for corporate roles,
Mm-hmm.
I assume you still put them through the same evaluation to get their codes of what industries and such. But do you teach the entrepreneurial track differently? Are you involved in that, or can you help guide people to during your program? Do you help guide people into the
Oh,
entrepreneurial
yeah.
or back into your program?
The beauty about where the entire department is called career readiness standards, and compared to when I retired 5 years ago, and I don't know when you left, it is nowhere near the same. Where now each transitioning service member in all branches of services, before they get out, they can choose to go through all 4 2-day workshops. So they can go through vocational track, which is career, credential, and exploration. That's the assessments. And then like the following week or week after, whenever at their convenience, they can go to 2-day entrepreneurial workshop that's held on here in North Carolina, Jacksonville, in the community college. Then the next week, if they wanted to, they can go through the 2-day employment workshop, and then they can go through the education, literally. And I did some research, Derek, and if I facilitated each of those workshops outside of the Department of Defense, each of those workshops are valued at about $20,000 to $40,000. Like my facilitation fee would be about 10 to 15K a day. Yeah. So they're walking out. So if any service member choose to take all 4 workshops, they could literally transition out of the military with just under $200,000 worth of information in pro tips, where the rest of the world would have to pay.
Okay. Kind of the same kind of track, I guess, more expansion on that. The Isacson and Rowe Act was signed in. I think it was one of the last things Trump did on his way out of the office last time.
Mm-hmm.
And it provided, I think $10 million to veteran transition research. And literally just this morning, I saw a grant opportunity where they're giving out, I think, like $4 million in grants, $500,000 a piece to organizations in this space to help transition veterans. What if you could do anything? What would you write a grant about for this space? How would you? What would you tell
Yeah.
them you can do with the money, and what would it be?
Yeah. So the first thing I would do is I would mandate everybody, every service member, before they take any other workshops, they all go through career credential exploration. That's what you and I have been talking about with the assessments. Everybody from commandant down. So one, I would say I would recommend every human go through that, because that's the foundation. literally. Now, to your question, if they said, Mario, we have these funding streams for a grant to improve, right? To improve veterans and opportunities. Where would you send that money to? I would take like a bureau, a consolidation focus. What I've seen is there's a lot of resources, but there's not much synergy. Um, and so what I would do is say, let's take this money and how can we create like a speakers bureau, a one-stop shop post-military. You go to these places and there's so many resources, but are they synergized? Are they synergized at the local chamber of commerce? Are they do we have veteran chamber of commerce in every state? I know we have the National Veteran Chamber of Commerce. You know what I mean? And I would take that money and let's take an accurate approach um, to synergizing these resources, getting rid of, breaking down silos and finding some efficiencies where not only now these service members and family members are getting this world-class facilitation before they leave, but let's have that continuity of professional care, and let's have kind of this one-stop, a bureau, if you will, where there's not all of these resources overlapping.
So there's a book cited in my research and titled Sea of Goodwill, where there was at that time over 40,000 veteran nonprofits. Now there's over 50,000 veteran nonprofits.
Yeah.
And there's lots of research pointing out that veterans struggle with organizations that have similar names, similar missions. You mentioned the overlapping. And then I have an issue with the number of nonprofits that exist that are actively receiving funds but not actively doing anything back for the community.
Right.
Taking a special approach of investigating this a little bit. But so, so what you're describing as a centralized repository of all the resources is a great idea. I think there are a couple orgs that have tried to do that before, but it always ends up like just again another pot of everything, but you can't quite figure out where to go. So you're highlighting a definite problem that needs to be fixed. But I've been thinking about the same thing, and I wanted to do a Brofenbrenner diagram, which is like, you start in the small circle. This is you. This is what you can do for yourself, and then here's your layers of resources, and you go outside the ring. How do you interact with those organizations? And there's steps, going from your local government to your county government to your state government to your federal government, and then all the organizations in between on that chart, and then the way to navigate through it. And there are a couple of those orgs that exist, but I always think that somehow it always appears that something's left out. They focus on one set of companies or one set of nonprofits that are their clique. The other cliques are left out. They're all still doing better work. And in my business, I had contracted with a leading nonprofit to use my product, and they did a 1-month pilot. And I could see how much AI they were using, and they weren't using it very much. I kept calling, checking in. Hey, how's it going? What's going on? How you like it? Oh, everything's great. Everything's fine. And at the end, they were like, oh, well, it doesn't quite work for us. And I was pretty annoyed because it didn't work because you didn't use it, because I can see how much you actually use. You used enough AI for maybe a week, not the full month. You didn't get the full experience. But I quickly discovered that it wasn't just about, making them more efficient. I made them more efficient, definitely. But I actually 4 times more efficient. But when you become 4 times more efficient as a nonprofit, you all of a sudden need 4 times more customers or 4 times more people to help, or you can't go ask for more money. And if you're trying to grow your footprint and be the biggest and best, you need to be able to ask for more money. So I really felt like that they chose to show need where my product solved their need to build a bigger bank account versus helping veterans. And I take a lot of offense to it. I'm kind of taking that as a driver to go investigate through GuideStar who's getting what funds and how they're being used.
Yeah. Derek, and it's funny you mention that, because that's how still my company, my nonprofit is structured. I did an interview probably about 5 years ago, and they said, how do you measure success? I said, human impact. I said, I don't measure success on how much money I raise. I measure success based off the impact on human. And I said, so when you go on my landing page and you see the number of students that were impacted, it's not about how much money. It's about the impact. And like you said, there's a lot of organizations that are overlapping, and we want to fill out our 990s, and we want to show we've raised and exceeded six figures or whatever. Fine, that's your focus. I mean, that's your goal. But like you said, the goal is, and we talk veterans, is do you have testimonies? If I go on your LinkedIn page, they're founder and president of that particular veteran nonprofit. I'm going to read. What are your customers saying? Are you even surveying your customers? Who cares about what you want? What do they want? What do they want? And I've seen a lot of organizations is reverse. It's, oh, I believe this is best from my experience. Well, have you interviewed like 20% of your town that are vets? So yeah, so I love how you brought that up, because literally that's how design, still serving, where it's very lean. I'm a self-funder for the most part, and it's the impact. I mean, I get random letters from students and faculty all the time, come out of nowhere, say thank you. I'm going to Duke University, or I'm going to East Carolina University, and what you did, what your company did for us for creating those networking events and those skill development events, we will never forget it.
So that's one of the tricky parts of the nonprofit space, that when I set up my business, I looked at nonprofit, and then I got some education from USC too about the way nonprofits work and nonprofit financials, and I was decided that it was probably as efficient to be a for-profit in this current state, and do it a little bit differently. What do you think USC's biggest driver is? What is USC?
You said USC?
University of Southern California.
So you said as far as University of Southern California?
Yeah. What is their main revenue or income source?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them.
So it's like
I'm on the East Coast, so I deal with a lot with the East Carolina, ECU, East Carolina University.
okay.
But
So USC is a private for-profit or private nonprofit university,
mhm.
and you would think that their biggest income is tuition, or maybe even the football team or whatever else, but it's actually the nonprofit hospital. USC is a hospital with a school attached to it. It's in many ways. But when I got to look through the financials
Yeah.
as part of a class and really understand the way that nonprofit money kind of moves around, it was almost like there was more work involved in doing that than
Mhm.
reporting your financials. But then there's the whole spaces you're allowed to be in, not allowed to be in. But nevertheless,
Yeah,
so
there's a great book I read before I founded my company. It's called Charity Case. And Charity Case, and every time I coach anyone who is, thinking about starting a nonprofit, all the time, people, a lot of folks will refer folks, hey, reach out to Mario. And when I have a discovery meeting with them, I'll say, well, before you do anything, like before you do your articles of incorporation, before you make the decision to either click for profit or nonprofit, before it goes to the Secretary of State, read this book, Charity Case. And the reason why I recommend that book is because it goes back to the genesis of the charity world and how this even began. To your point, um, you just you just describing the complexities of USC and the funding streams and all of that. That is one reason, and it's in that book. That is one reason why. Like last time I did research, the American population's approval for nonprofits is lower than Congress.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's not opinion. And that's why another reason why, Derek, I designed Still Serving Incorporated, where I'm predominantly a self funder. So my podcast, my YouTube channel, like all of my social media, it is monetized. And so that all goes to Still Serving. So about 95 to 96% of my nonprofit's funding, it comes from multiple funding streams within the Fields family. hmm and it's because of that, and Americans, from research, they don't like to donate. And through my research, I don't like to ask for money. So doing the self assessments and being self aware, I said I need to design a very lean structure where high impact, low cost, and self funded. Yeah,
So thank you for that, and I understand the bootstrapping. I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind for a moment here. This is
yeah,
part of my dissertation: initiatives to reduce better underemployment, unemployment. Right. So Abraham Lincoln told us that we're going to care for him who shall have borne the battle. Right. So we have that requirement. But then 1965, Sir Francis Bacon proclaimed, "In charity there is no excess." There was 300 billion in 2006.
mm-hmm.
2001, totaling 2.48 billion in balance. So in charity there is no excess. I don't know. I mean, maybe we have excess charities. Maybe there's the opportunity to combine and focus missions and get rid of the overlap and then join together. But then that doesn't seem realistic because you have so many different
Mm-hmm.
heads, people who want to have their or grow and be successful. They want to make a name for themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you remove the self from the charity cases or charity, not charity cases, but these charity, it's like 501c, and that's the individual themselves, but also the organizational self of them wanting to be the best nonprofit, the biggest nonprofit, the most people coming through the system, the most the highest salaries after, um, right? And so I guess, and General Petraeus told us one time that life's a competition. Sometimes you're in competition to be the best teammate. That was a pretty powerful speech. That was the best part of it was, you're always competing, even if you're on the same team. To be the better teammate should be what we're competing for. But so how do we get nonprofits to be better teammates, or is that just a fallacy? Because we see cliques of groups that work
Yeah.
together, but then there's another clique that also work together who they have their own ecosystem doing the same thing. So what's the crossover? What do we do?
Yeah, I can speak from my own experience. I've had board members and people call me and say, we need to expand, or we need to," and I go, okay, let's accurately dissect what you just said. That's your belief. You just communicated your belief on me. We need to. You believe we need to. And I said, okay, now let's go to phase two. Why? And I would tell my team, not my team, but some of my closest teammates in my companies, I say, why? And let's accurately articulate the why. Not a belief, not an opinion, not a metaphor. Why do you believe we need to expand program delivery? And I said, let's take a few days. But when we discuss again, discussion to learn, it's not discussion to prove anyone right or wrong, because no one learns. So we're going to discuss to learn in this business, this company, on how to articulate the why accurately. And then they would come back and go, and I would even come back and go, I still can't figure out why. If we change our metric, our metric of success, which is human impact, and we see that we're not making an impact on the students in Pitt County, I believe through that that's a reason why we should change our program delivery. But we have made an impact on over 600 plus. So why do we need to expand? We can't change the world. We literally can't. It's 8.5 billion humans, latest research. But at least we can be an example while we're living, because we don't even know if we're going to live tomorrow, right? And we can make a choice to make an impact where we can confirm it through our program delivery that we have now, and continue to overpromise, underdeliver, and be in a better position for an external factor like the pandemic when it hit and our company still grew. So yeah, I've had these discussions. I said the issue is with the founders. It's their belief systems, and they're very rigid, and they're protecting their belief systems, and that's why it's hard to get synergy, because whatever their belief system is, whatever they believe, their organization, it's they're projecting. And instead of going, why do I not want to merge with, why? Oh, because I'm gonna lose a grant. See, you're focused on you. How about the customer? Yeah. That's what I've seen over the last 6 years. And I just see a lot of belief systems are manifested in leadership behaviors. And I watch the company, what I see is belief systems projecting on each other and forgetting about the customer.
I want to take you back to that grant that's coming out now,
Yeah.
and what you would do in writing this grant, and are you going to write a grant for this opportunity? And so, in that, what would you provide what would you like to provide to transition service members after they've gotten out? So now they're veterans. They can't go do TAP class again. I'm sure they can access your materials, though, right? But what should they be? What should we be doing with this grant money right now to give veterans the best next step?
Well, first, I would say it's their choice. I mean, I've seen a lot of folks who get this world class information, and they go whatever. I've seen that. I've seen that across the street. Yeah, I have seen that live where I'm going, what did you do for the last like 3 weeks? I didn't pay attention. Well, it's obvious. I've seen people get out and go, oh, life is hard out here. We need to do more. We need to do more for veterans. I've seen both sides, and I'm going, well, you chose not to pay attention. So it's your fault. Let's have some self accountability here. So that's the point where I would first education on anyone. I do it now with service members are leaving, going, hey, just remember, there's a level of accountability, everyone. And there's more resources available in 2024 than I've ever seen, in my life. Now, going to the continuity of I call it professional abilities for anyone who served in any branch of service, the first thing I would do is we need feedback. It's the feedback loop. I mean, this in business is I haven't seen, except if you like go on my LinkedIn profile or whatever, and folks have left testimonies in your show, but I haven't seen kind of this maybe a platform or something where veterans can 90 days, whatever, different ranks. I mean, you can sort it by field grade officers, junior officers, whatever. And what's the feedback? The feedback loop. Design a system, a platform. I don't know what the cost is. If where folks can access that platform and look at feedback, not good or bad, feedback. I do it on my podcast. I mean, there's a few episodes on my podcast that I've created feedback where folks can go and watch some of these episodes. I have one, matter of fact, I'm going to record today, and to do lessons learned, Derek, from people that are in the veteran space that before they got out, when they got out. Some of them go back in, and let's get some feedback. What works? What doesn't work? Why? What did you do? What did you do that allowed your transition to be, right, turbulence free, if you will? So that feedback is just critical, and I don't see it. I don't see I see lots of resources, but that feedback, unless I get on a show like yours or a couple other shows, or even my own platform, I really don't see a lot of feedback. So I would allocate some dollars for that resource capability.
Thank you for that. I'm gonna change gears on you. Kind of just brought in your podcast too, and I'm gonna be selfish in these last few minutes and ask for your advice about your process for editing, if you're doing it all yourself, because I still haven't delivered a full final edited version of anything yet. I think you're my 12th or 13th episode I recorded. I was working with a
Nice.
company. I'm still working with them for my analytics, but they started doing my editing too, but it just didn't kind of work out the way I think editing kind of goes, based on treating it like a document in some ways, where I would do proposals before it, you know, gather all the data, which, here's your video. I go through, I do my first pass, and then I want to hand it off somebody here. You go do the things that I'm not good at. Add the logos, add the websites, make it flashy, and then send it back to me for a final revision to watch it. And then I'll check the box and say, here, it's good. And then you go put it where it needs to be. But we couldn't get past the second or third. I mean, really the first step of editing. I would do my pass, but then they started on an unedited version and did their edits, and I'm like, well, you should have started with mine. But nevertheless, on that, how the sausage is made from my side. What do? You do it all yourself?
So when you look at all of my episodes, there's no edits. So we're on 126 now, and we'll hit Unarmored Talk. We'll have our 4th year anniversary here in about 90 days. No edit. So when I hit record and you look at those episodes, there's no editing. So my process is I do a discovery meeting, and we nail down one thing, that thing. And then the science of it, Derek, is I do interview post pre-action. It's called pre-action, inaction, and then post-action. So reflection, pre-action, reflection, inaction, reflection, post-action. And I keep my episodes about 18 to 25 minutes. Some of them will go 30, like the Navy Cross, recipient, or like Kevin Major Howard from Full Metal Jacket. I have some folks that I've had over past years that may go about 30, but I keep them about 18 to 30. And then as far as the back, I call it post-production. My wife, believe it or not, she's the video editor. She has a Mac. So I take that video file that I record like we're doing now, and I download it, send it to her, and then she goes in her Mac, because the Mac computer comes with video editing software, and she puts the pre-video for YouTube, the post video. She merges that together. She sends me the YouTube vid, and then she extracts the audio, and she puts my recorded intro and outro in audio, and then she sends me the audio file, and then that's when I upload to Buzzsprout audio that goes out to Listen Notes and Apple, and then I upload the video on my podcast playlist on my YouTube channel, and literally that's our cadence.
Okay.
And it's I mean, we've got it down so fast that when and of course I upload to Instagram and stuff like that, but we got post-production down so fast. I literally, about a month ago, recorded a video on a Sunday. The gentleman was in California, so we did the video about 7:00 Eastern Standard Time, and I had it published on audio and video by 9:30 Eastern.
Yeah, I need to get to there. Right now, I got like 12 episodes ready to be put together, and I think I want to build a trailer around them too.
Mm-hmm.
Folks talk about the same topic and expand out the way we see all the fancy stuff done. But I feel like I'm stuck in crawl walk run situation in this, partially because I was trying to farm it out because I have too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
But my oldest daughter is good at editing. I might try to get her, or I am trying to get her to do more stuff, but they only want to edit their TikToks and other kind of videos. They don't want to do the actual work. These teenagers these days, you got to go uphill to school both ways, right? These guys don't want to do anything.
No. And you know what else I did when I first started in 2020? My cadence when I first started in 2020 it was an episode a week. But then I said, okay, I need a sustainable model, something that I can continue to produce and produce for years, right? So what's worked for me since 2021 is I do 2 episodes a month. And that cadence has been very, along with, the things we got going on in our family, travel, you name it. And it's been real good where I'm able to, my listeners and viewers, they know that every 2 weeks there's going to be an episode, and I have the flexibility to do a special episode if I want. Sometimes I go live, but for the most part, two a month has been very, very supportive of the other things I got going on in my life.
I get that's a good plan. I've been told to advise to kind of do like you're doing it once a week, once every 2 weeks, or the other strategy is get them all booked. Record as many as you can at one time, and then chop them up and distribute them as appropriate for
Hmm.
students. And the people I'm working with, it's actually Empyrean Analytics. I love most everything they do. He's Chris Kitchens. He's the owner. He's a Marine veteran as well,
Yeah.
also USC MBV grad, and all the stuff about. Essentially, I want to be able to hand him my files, and they put them all the places that they need to go, and have them
Right.
just basically once I drop it into the place it needs to be, the file in, then it gets separated by AI, put it where it needs to go. So that's where we're headed to eventually.
Yeah. No, hey, again, folks, look at Mario P. Field with Dr. Jerry Washington, just so you know. I know he kind of connected us, but Dr. Jerry Washington, he really, really, really played oh my God, I love that guy. He played a pivotal role in Unarmored Talk podcast success. He hates it when I do this publicly, but I don't care. And I love him for it because I tell you, if it wasn't for Jerry Washington, I think I would have probably released 6 episodes and it would have been done.
Yeah.
But it's so yeah. I mean, I remember I remember Jerry calling me and going, like 7 episodes in, going, "All right, Mario, we're getting there."
So I've been thinking about an episode where I get interviewed, and I'm probably going to ask Jerry to be the interviewer. Maybe Jerry and Dr. Carl Horseman. When I time.
If you get him to interview you, you call me directly
Okay.
because I you call, just you tell him I said, and if he gets on your show and he interviews you, I want a phone call.
Oh, now he might not do it. I can't throw Mario P. Fields come after him right now. Let him do it first. I was actually thinking about it because Jerry's been impactful in my career since we met as well, and what I'm
Yeah.
doing, what I'm trying to do. I really appreciate his advice and these kind of things. He's been on my show. He hasn't been released yet. Nobody's been released yet, but he was actually this was the first person on, and it might be a special content reel. I don't know. It was like first go around, but I was thinking about having one where I get interviewed to talk about what this thing is, and Jerry knows a lot about what I've done at USC and what I did in my dissertation. And Dr. Carl Harshman is the one that coached me years ago. He's a former dean of a school in Missouri, company consultant on leadership development for many years, coached General Atomics, General Dynamics, lots of school systems, Ford Motor Company. And he knows a lot about, again, personal human development, building companies, building people, and building humans and coaching them. So part of this is about that. So I think if those two were interviewing me, I'd be unable to squirm enough, I think.
I honestly, I 100% recommend that, and I know Jerry would because I mean how he is. Jerry's a very accurate. He's very articulate, and I believe if he's interviewing you, Jerry's not the type that when he's going to actively listen to you. Where I've seen some podcasters that they don't really actively listen; they just wait for you to be done so they can move on with their point. But Jerry will actively listen to you, and he will discuss to learn and ask you like, what do you mean by that? Or well, let's talk about why this. And I believe that's critical for it to be reversed, where they're interviewing you so you get a chance to you know communicate on the whys.
Well, Mario, I need to get that to happen too, and I also have to create an episode 0 at some point. Did you create episode 0?
I did. I have a trailer.
The trailer. Okay, so your trailer is episode 0. So are they? It's supposed to be the same thing or different?
No, so if you go on Armor Talk podcast, audio, and video, but if you want to listen to it, it's on Apple. I don't know what kind of platform you listen to, but I'm on Spotify, Apple, and the trailer is it's just a quick, snapshot of the discussion framework of the why. Why is your podcast? And if you notice, what I did was I took 4 months before I launched my trailer. Jerry helped me, and what I did was, believe it or not, I listened to CNN. I listened to all kind of podcasts to listen to how they did their trailer, and I took a compilation of examples, and then that's where I developed my own authentic trailer. But yeah.
Thanks for that advice. I'm going to be diving into that as well too. I don't have my intro or outro videos. Well, I do. I have the intro and the outro, but they're not attached to anything yet, right?
Right.
All those steps I need to get put together the right way. But I know we're over time here, Mario, and
No worries.
I will let you get off of here. I'm gonna go try to do some more professional things today and feel a bit more
Okay.
accomplished, getting back into the groove of, getting that into that again. So when I have you on next time, hopefully we're talking about Jerry's interview of me, and I want your opinion of the fingerprint for success coaching. And Marley, I'll send you those links. I can't speak now. I told you I lost my voice. That's why I moved the meeting the last time, and it has never quite returned. I think I might
Oh
have
wow.
long COVID or long whatever it is, that my voice may not be coming back. So I figure that out as well.
Well, I am here for you, my friend. If you ever need anything as far as in the digital space, just let me know.
So what can I do for you between now and our next visit?
Dude, just continue to share the content on LinkedIn. Again, I'm a human impact type of person. My passion is helping people. It's actually on my LinkedIn profile. So please get on my social media, continue to share on LinkedIn the content, and that's all I ask. Let's make a difference together, positive impact on the world while we're still here.
All right, Mario. I'm gonna let you get off here. I appreciate you. Super bye.